Imagine sitting down with the greatest minds in history. Today, we do just that. Join us as we bring the genius of Leonardo da Vinci to life and explore his incredible journey. This is a new way to learn, through the voices of the past. Welcome. It's a great honor to have you here. To start, could you describe yourself for our audience?
Sure, I was born in 1452 in a small village called Vinci in Italy. I'm an artist, scientist, and inventor, always curious about the world. My interests cover a lot of areas, from painting and sculpture to anatomy and engineering.
Before we proceed, could you briefly describe the surroundings where we are having this conversation?
We are seated in a serene study filled with natural light, surrounded by sketches and manuscripts. There are models of various inventions on the shelves and paintings adorning the walls. It is a space that reflects my constant search for knowledge and understanding.
Let's talk about your childhood and early education. What was your upbringing in Vinci like?
I grew up in Vinci, a small village nestled in the Tuscan hills. The natural beauty of the area greatly influenced me. My father, Ser Piero, was a notary, and my mother, Caterina, was a peasant woman. Although my parents were not married, my father took responsibility for my upbringing.
That sounds like a unique environment to grow up in. How did it shape you?
Living in Vinci, I was surrounded by nature, which sparked my curiosity. I spent a lot of time exploring the countryside, observing animals, plants, and the changing seasons. This early connection with nature was pivotal in developing my observational skills, which later became fundamental in both my artistic and scientific endeavors.
You mentioned that your education was informal. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, my formal education was quite limited compared to others of my time. I didn't attend a university, but I had access to my father's extensive library. I was largely self-taught, reading on subjects that fascinated me and experimenting on my own. My education was driven by a relentless curiosity and a desire to understand the world in detail.
That's incredible. Your self-motivation clearly played a big role in your development. If you're still watching or listening to this, I kindly ask you to give the video a like. One click on the like button will indirectly contribute to us creating more content like this and improve the quality. Thank you for your support, and sorry for interrupting. What were some early influences and lessons that stood out to you?
One of my earliest influences was nature itself. Observing the intricate details of the natural world taught me about structure, form, and function. Another significant influence was my apprenticeship with Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. Moving to Florence was a turning point in my life.
Tell us more about your move to Florence and your apprenticeship with Verrocchio. How did that experience shape your career?
Moving to Florence was like entering a new world. It was a center of art, culture, and innovation. I was about 14 when I started my apprenticeship with Verrocchio. His workshop was full of talented artists and craftsmen. It was there I sharpened my skills in painting, sculpture, and even mechanical arts.
What was it like working under Verrocchio? What did you learn from him?
Verrocchio was a demanding but brilliant mentor. He emphasized the importance of mastering various techniques and encouraged experimentation. I learned the fundamentals of drawing, the use of perspective, and the meticulous details of anatomy. One memorable lesson was assisting in the creation of his statue of David. It was an invaluable experience that taught me the significance of blending art with anatomical precision.
It sounds like Verrocchio had a profound impact on you. How did you apply what you learned in his workshop to your own work?
Absolutely. The lessons from Verrocchio's workshop were crucial. I applied the techniques and principles I learned to my own projects. For example, in my painting, The Baptism of Christ, Verrocchio allowed me to paint one of the angels. My use of light and shadow, which I refined under his guidance, brought a new depth and realism to my work.
That must have been a significant moment for you. How did it feel to contribute to such an important piece at a young age?
It was exhilarating and humbling. Being trusted with such responsibility was a testament to Verrocchio's faith in my abilities. It also fueled my ambition to push the boundaries of what art could achieve. The experience solidified my belief that art and science were interconnected disciplines that could enhance one another.
Your early years in Vinci and Florence clearly laid a strong foundation for your later achievements. Looking back, how do you feel about those formative years?
I'm deeply grateful for those years. They were filled with exploration, learning and growth. The experiences and lessons from my childhood in Vinci and my apprenticeship in Florence were instrumental in shaping my approach to both art and science. They instilled in me a lifelong passion for discovery and creativity.
We've talked about your early life and education. Let's delve into your artistic journey. Could you tell us about some of your most significant paintings and works, such as the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, and the Vitruvian Man?
The Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, and the Vitruvian Man are indeed some of my most well-known works. The Mona Lisa, or La Gioconda, is famous for her enigmatic expression. This effect was achieved through the use of sfumato, a technique that creates a soft, gradual transition between colors and tones. It gives the painting a lifelike quality and depth that intrigues viewers.
The Mona Lisa's smile is particularly famous. What was your approach to capturing that expression?
The smile of the Mona Lisa has intrigued many because of its ambiguity. I employed the sfumato technique to blend the colors around her mouth and eyes in such a way that her expression changes when viewed from different angles. This subtlety creates an illusion of movement and emotion, making her smile appear both inviting and elusive.
That's fascinating. What about the Last Supper? What makes it such a remarkable piece?
The Last Supper is a mural I painted for the convent of Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan. It depicts the moment Jesus announces that one of his disciples will betray him. The composition is designed to draw the viewer's eye to Jesus at the center, using perspective lines that converge behind his head. The expressions and body language of the disciples convey a range of emotions, adding to the drama and realism of the scene.
And the Vitruvian Man? What was the inspiration behind that?
The Vitruvian Man is a drawing that represents the ideal human body proportions as described by the ancient Roman architect Vitruvius. It illustrates the symmetry and harmony of the human body, fitting perfectly within a circle and a square. This drawing embodies my belief in the interconnectedness of art and science, showing how mathematical principles can be applied to understand and represent the human form.
Your methods and techniques have set you apart as a master. Can you elaborate on some of these techniques?
Certainly. One technique I often used is sfumato, which I mentioned earlier. It involves blending colors and tones so subtly that there are no harsh lines or borders. This technique is particularly effective in creating realistic skin textures and atmospheric effects. Another important technique is chiaroscuro, which is the use of strong contrast between light and dark to give the illusion of volume and depth. This technique helps to model figures in 3 dimensions on a flat surface, creating a sense of realism and solidity.
That's incredibly insightful. Were there specific challenges you faced with these techniques?
Indeed, every technique comes with its own set of challenges. For sfumato, the key difficulty is in achieving the right balance and subtlety in transitions. It requires patience and a keen eye for detail. Chiaroscuro, on the other hand, demands a precise understanding of light and shadow and how they interact with different surfaces and textures.
Your works often convey deep philosophical themes. Could you talk about the artistic philosophies that guide your work?
At the core of my philosophy is the idea that art and science are closely linked. I see art as a way to explore and represent the natural world. This means constantly studying anatomy, physics, and mathematics to better understand what I'm depicting. I also believe in the importance of observation and experience. To create true-to-life representations, one must closely observe the world and understand its underlying principles. This approach leads to a more authentic and compelling portrayal of subjects, whether they are human figures, landscapes, or mechanical designs.
That's an inspiring perspective. How did these philosophies influence your artistic process?
These philosophies shaped my approach to every project. I would spend countless hours observing and sketching from life, dissecting bodies to understand anatomy, and experimenting with different materials and techniques. This meticulous process was driven by my quest to depict reality as accurately and beautifully as possible. For example, in The Last Supper, I conducted extensive studies on human anatomy and used mathematical principles to perfect the composition and perspective. Similarly, the Mona Lisa's lifelike quality results from my deep understanding of human anatomy and the subtleties of facial expressions.
It's clear that your work required immense dedication and skill. Looking back, how do you view the challenges and achievements of your artistic journey?
I view the challenges as essential parts of my journey. Each difficulty I faced pushed me to innovate and refine my techniques. The achievements, while gratifying, were not just personal triumphs, but also steps towards a greater understanding of art and the world. My artistic journey was a continuous process of learning, exploring, and creating, driven by an insatiable curiosity and passion for discovery.
We've discussed your artistic journey, but you're also renowned for your scientific studies. Let's explore this aspect of your work. Can you tell us about your anatomical studies and sketches?
Certainly. My anatomical studies began as a means to improve my understanding of the human form for my art. However, they quickly grew into a scientific pursuit in their own right. I dissected numerous human bodies to study their internal structures and functions. My sketches, such as those found in the anatomical manuscripts, document detailed observations of muscles, bones, and organs. These drawings were not only artistic, but also scientific, aimed at revealing the intricacies of the human body.
Your anatomical drawings are incredibly detailed. How did these studies contribute to our understanding of the human body?
My dissections and observations allowed me to accurately depict the human form and understand its mechanics. I discovered, for instance, the true arrangement of the heart's chambers and the structure of the spine. My work on the muscles and tendons provided insights into how movement is produced. These studies contributed significantly to the field of anatomy, offering a level of detail and accuracy that was unprecedented at the time.
That's remarkable. How did your findings influence both your art and science?
The knowledge I gained from anatomical studies profoundly influenced my art. Understanding the body's structure enabled me to create more lifelike and dynamic figures. For instance, the precise depiction of muscles and tendons in my drawings adds a sense of realism and vitality to the figures. Scientifically, my findings challenged existing medical knowledge and laid the groundwork for future anatomical studies. I aimed to document the human body as accurately as possible, bridging the gap between art and science.
Your dedication to studying the human body is evident. Were there any particular challenges you faced during these dissections?
Yes, there were several challenges. Dissecting human bodies was controversial and often had to be done in secret due to societal and religious restrictions. Additionally, preserving the bodies long enough to study them in detail was difficult. Despite these obstacles, my determination to understand the human body kept me persistent in my efforts.
In addition to anatomy, you also conducted extensive studies of nature. What motivated these observations?
My motivation stemmed from a deep fascination with the natural world and a desire to understand its underlying principles. I believed that by studying nature, I could uncover the secrets of life itself. My observations covered a wide range of subjects, from the flight of birds to the flow of water. These studies were meticulously recorded in my notebooks, filled with sketches and notes on various natural phenomena.
Can you give an example of one of your nature studies and its significance?
One significant study was my observation of bird flight. I meticulously sketched the wings of different birds, noting the structure and motion of their wings during flight. These studies were crucial in developing my ideas for flying machines. I realized that understanding the mechanics of bird flight could lead to human flight. This led to my designs for ornithopters, machines intended to mimic the flapping of bird wings to achieve flight.
Your observations and sketches of nature are impressive. How did these studies impact your other work?
My nature studies had a profound impact on both my artistic and scientific endeavors. In art, they allowed me to depict natural elements with great accuracy and detail. For example, the botanical illustrations in my paintings show a deep understanding of plant anatomy and growth patterns. Scientifically, my observations contributed to various fields, including hydrodynamics and geology. My study of water flows, for instance, led to insights into the principles of fluid dynamics, which I applied in my engineering designs.
It's clear that your scientific studies were as thorough as your artistic ones. Looking back, how do you feel about the contributions you made to both fields?
I am proud of the contributions I made, though I often wished for more time to explore and document my findings fully. My work in anatomy and natural sciences was driven by a relentless curiosity and a desire to understand the world in all its complexity. I hope that my interdisciplinary approach serves as an inspiration for future generations to explore the connections between art and science. My ultimate goal was to gain and share knowledge, and I believe that endeavor continues to resonate.
We've discussed your scientific studies, but you are also renowned for your technological innovations. Can you tell us about some of your machine designs and inventions, such as helicopters, tanks, and diving equipment?
Certainly. Throughout my life, I designed numerous machines and devices, many of which were far ahead of their time. For instance, my sketches for a helicopter, which I called the aerial screw, envisioned a device that could lift off the ground using a helical rotor. Although it was never built in my lifetime, the concept has influenced modern helicopter design.
Your designs for military equipment are also quite famous. Can you talk about those?
Yes, one of my notable designs is for a tank, which I described as a covered chariot. This armored vehicle was designed to be operated by 8 men and equipped with cannons. It was intended to provide protection while delivering firepower on the battlefield. Another design was for a giant crossbow, capable of launching large projectiles. These inventions reflected my interest in both offensive and defensive military technology.
And your designs for diving equipment?
My designs for diving equipment included a diving suit made of leather with a mask connected to a breathing tube that extended to the surface. This was intended to allow soldiers to conduct underwater operations, such as sabotaging enemy ships. The suit featured an air supply system that, while primitive by today's standards, was innovative for its time.
Your technological ideas are truly remarkable. How did your background in art and science influence these inventions?
Art and science were inseparable in my work. My artistic skills allowed me to create detailed and precise sketches of my inventions, which were crucial for visualizing complex mechanisms. My scientific studies provided the necessary understanding of principles such as mechanics, fluid dynamics, and human anatomy. This interdisciplinary approach enabled me to design machines that were both imaginative and technically feasible.
Can you give an example of how your interdisciplinary approach led to a specific invention?
One example is my study of bird flight, which I mentioned earlier. By meticulously observing and sketching the wings and flight patterns of birds, I gained insights into the principles of aerodynamics. This knowledge directly influenced my design for the aerial screw as I sought to replicate the mechanics of flight in a human-made device. My artistic ability to render these observations in detailed drawings was essential in developing the concept.
Your work has clearly inspired modern technology. Can you share some examples of your inventions that have had a lasting impact?
Many of my concepts have inspired modern technology. For instance, the aerial screw can be seen as a precursor to the modern helicopter. My designs for armored vehicles anticipated the development of tanks used in warfare today. Additionally, my studies of water flow and hydrodynamics have influenced modern engineering, particularly in fluid mechanics and hydraulics. Even my designs for bridges and urban planning have found resonance in contemporary civil engineering.
It's incredible how your ideas have endured. Looking back, how do you feel about the influence your inventions have had on modern technology?
I'm humbled by the impact my work has had. Although many of my inventions were never built during my lifetime, the ideas and principles behind them have endured. It brings me great satisfaction to know that my explorations in art and science have contributed to technological advancements. My hope was always to push the boundaries of what was possible and to inspire others to do the same. I believe that the legacy of innovation and creativity is the greatest achievement one can aspire to.
Your inventions and scientific studies are well known, but let's delve into your philosophical and esoteric viewpoints. What are your thoughts on human potential and creativity?
I believe that human potential is boundless and that creativity is one of our greatest gifts. The capacity to imagine, create, and innovate is what distinguishes us as a species. I have always sought to explore the limits of this potential, constantly challenging myself to think beyond conventional boundaries and to fuse art, science, and engineering in new ways.
You also had interests in metaphysics and the mysteries of the universe. Can you elaborate on these interests?
Absolutely. I have always been fascinated by the fundamental questions of existence and the workings of the universe. My studies were not limited to the physical world, but extended to metaphysical concepts such as the nature of the soul, the interconnectedness of all things, and the underlying principles that govern reality. This curiosity drove me to explore diverse fields and to seek a deeper understanding of the cosmos.
How did your esoteric thoughts influence your work?
My esoteric thoughts profoundly influenced my work by encouraging me to look for connections between seemingly disparate fields. I saw the world as an interconnected whole, where art, science, and nature were all reflections of the same underlying truths. This holistic perspective allowed me to approach my projects with a unique blend of intuition and analytical rigor, leading to innovative creations that often bridged multiple disciplines.
Your philosophical views are fascinating. Now let's talk about your work habits and discipline. What were your daily routines and how did you maintain such a high level of productivity?
My days were structured, yet flexible, allowing for both focused work and spontaneous creativity. I often rose early and started my day with observations of nature or sketching ideas that came to me during the night. My mornings were typically spent on detailed studies and experiments, whether in anatomy, mechanics, or painting techniques. Afternoons and evenings were devoted to executing larger projects, meeting with patrons, or collaborating with other artists and scientists. I often worked late into the night, driven by an insatiable curiosity and passion for discovery.
How did you manage to balance your time between so many diverse interests and projects?
Maintaining a balance required meticulous organization and a clear prioritization of tasks. I kept numerous notebooks where I recorded observations, sketches, and ideas. This helped me keep track of ongoing projects and plan future ones. Flexibility was also key. I allowed myself to switch between tasks when inspiration struck or when I encountered a challenge that required more time to resolve. This approach ensured that I remained productive across various fields without becoming overwhelmed.
What was your relationship like with your patrons and other artists and scientists?
My relationship with patrons was crucial for securing the funding and resources needed for my projects. I worked for various influential figures, including Ludovico Sforza in Milan and Lorenzo de' Medici in Florence. These patrons provided not only financial support but also intellectual stimulation and opportunities for collaboration. I valued these relationships and strived to meet their expectations while maintaining my artistic integrity. As for other artists and scientists, I greatly valued collaboration and the exchange of ideas. I frequently engaged with contemporaries such as Michelangelo and Raphael, as well as scientists like Luca Pacioli. These interactions enriched my work, challenged my perspectives, and often led to fruitful partnerships.
How did you organize and execute your projects, given their complexity and scale?
Organizing and executing complex projects required a systematic approach. I began with extensive preliminary studies and sketches, breaking down the project into manageable parts. For example, when working on a painting, I would start with detailed drawings of individual elements before composing the final piece. Similarly, for my scientific and engineering endeavors, I conducted numerous experiments and created prototypes to test my ideas. Project execution also involved careful resource management. I coordinated with assistants and apprentices, delegating tasks when necessary, while ensuring that I maintained oversight and quality control. My meticulous planning and attention to detail were essential in bringing my ambitious projects to fruition.
Looking back, how do you feel about your work methods and discipline?
I believe my work methods and discipline were instrumental in my ability to achieve so much across diverse fields. The structure and flexibility of my routines allowed me to remain productive and innovative. My relationships with patrons and peers provided support and inspiration, while my systematic approach to project management ensured that I could tackle even the most challenging endeavors. Reflecting on my life, I am proud of the dedication and passion I brought to my work, and I hope it inspires others to pursue their own quests for knowledge and creativity.
Let's talk about your personal life and character. What was your relationship like with your family and friends?
My relationship with my family was somewhat distant due to my illegitimate birth. However, I was close to my uncle Francesco, who nurtured my early interest in nature. As for friends, I surrounded myself with a diverse group of artists, scientists, and thinkers, enjoying stimulating conversations and collaborative projects. These relationships were vital for my intellectual and emotional well-being.
What about your personal interests and hobbies? What did you enjoy doing in your free time?
In addition to my professional pursuits, I had many personal interests. I loved studying nature, especially observing birds and their flight. I also enjoyed music and played the lyre. Gardening was another hobby that provided relaxation and inspiration. These activities not only brought me joy, but also fueled my creativity and curiosity.
There are many rumors and myths about your life. Can you address some of them?
Certainly. One common myth is that I was a solitary genius, but in reality I thrived on interaction and collaboration. Another rumor is that I completed very few projects, when in fact I was constantly working on multiple endeavors simultaneously. Some also speculate about my personal life and sexuality, but I prefer to keep those aspects private, as they do not define my contributions to art and science.
Your personal life seems just as fascinating as your professional one. How do you feel about the legacy you have left behind?
I hope my legacy reflects my relentless pursuit of knowledge and my belief in the power of creativity. Whether through art, science, or invention, I aimed to push the boundaries of what was possible. I am grateful that my work continues to inspire and that my life's journey is seen as a testament to human potential.
Reflecting on your life, how do you wish to be remembered?
I wish to be remembered as a relentless seeker of truth and knowledge, someone who looked at the world with curiosity and wonder. I hope my life and work inspire others to explore the connections between different fields and to approach problems with creativity and open-mindedness. Ultimately, I want my legacy to be one of inspiration, encouraging future generations to push the boundaries of what is possible.
Thank you for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us. It's been an honor to hear about your life and contributions. To our audience, thank you for watching this fascinating conversation with one of history's greatest minds. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. Don't forget to visit us on our social media platforms for updates and additional content. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.